What if I told you that recent archaeological discoveries have uncovered 3,200 years of evidence proving Greek gods were more than just ancient stories? From bronze offerings buried beneath temples to sacred sites that predate written history, scientists are finding physical proof that these legendary figures shaped entire civilizations. In this video, we'll explore 7 Greek gods whose existence is backed by real archaeological evidence. Discoveries so compelling, they're rewriting what we know about ancient Greece. Stay until the end, because the evidence for number 7 will completely change how you see Greek mythology. 1. Zeus, the king of the gods. For centuries, Zeus was seen as little more than a myth, a thunderbolt-wielding ruler imagined by storytellers. But deep in the rugged mountains of Arcadia, archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary. At Mount Lycaon, a site long associated with Zeus, researchers found layers of ash dating back more than 3,200 years. Buried in this ash were animal bones, bronze drinking cups, clay figurines, and ritual vessels, physical traces of sacrifices to the god. What makes this find so incredible is the timeline. These offerings stretch back to the Mycenaean era, a civilization predating even Homer's epics. This means the cult of Zeus was alive long before his myths were written down. Imagine people trekking up to that wind-swept mountain peak, leaving offerings to a sky god they believed could strike with thunder at any moment. And it doesn't stop there. At Olympia, the famed Temple of Zeus once held one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, Phidias' colossal statue of the god. Archaeologists have recovered clay molds and workshop tools from the area, linking directly to the creation of that monumental image. This wasn't just belief, it was art, ritual, and community carved into stone and clay. But if Zeus's presence is etched into mountains and temples, the next discovery takes us underwater, where the god of the sea himself is waiting. 2. Poseidon, the lord of the sea. Poseidon's trident is one of mythology's most recognizable symbols, and surprisingly, archaeology has given us more than one glimpse of his worship. One of the most debated finds is the Artemision bronze, a stunning statue recovered from a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. The figure stands poised, arm extended, about to hurl either a thunderbolt or a trident. Scholars still argue whether it's Zeus or Poseidon, but if it's Poseidon, it would be one of the most iconic depictions of him ever discovered. Beyond statues, temples dedicated to Poseidon dot the coastline. At Cape Sunion, the ruins of a magnificent temple still rise against the Aegean sky, built where sailors could pray for safe passage. More recently, archaeologists have uncovered submerged sanctuary remains, suggesting that entire coastal areas once served as sacred spaces for sea rituals. Storms, tides, and earthquakes may have buried parts of these temples beneath the waves, but even in ruin, they remind us of Poseidon's enduring pull on the imagination of ancient seafarers. And if the god of the sea could inspire such devotion, the goddess of wisdom left behind an even greater monument, one of the most iconic structures in the world. 3. Athena, the patron of Athens. If there's one goddess whose presence needs no introduction, it's Athena. Towering above the city that bears her name, the Parthenon is not just an architectural masterpiece, it's a living shrine to her worship. Every carved stone, every frieze, and every column tells the story of a goddess who embodied both wisdom and war. Excavations on the Acropolis have revealed an endless array of artifacts dedicated to Athena. Bronze helmets offered by warriors, inscribed tablets, marble statues, and countless coins stamped with her owl symbol. Each item is more than an object. It's a conversation with the goddess, a plea for her protection over the city. But what's fascinating is how universal Athena became. Unlike many gods tied to local cults, her worship spread far beyond Athens, turning her into a pan-Hellenic figure. Archaeological finds from Asia Minor, southern Italy, and even Egypt show that her name and image traveled wherever Greek culture reached. Still, while Athena's temples dominate skylines, the god of prophecy had his own sanctuary, one so mysterious that people traveled across the ancient world just to hear his voice. 4. Apollo, the Oracle of Delphi. High on the slopes of Mount Parnassus lies Delphi, a site that was once the beating heart of Greek religion. This was the sanctuary of Apollo, where priests and priestesses delivered prophecies believed to come straight from the god himself. Today, the ruins of the Temple of Apollo stand as silent witnesses to those centuries of devotion. Archaeologists have unearthed monumental treasures there, treasuries built by entire city-states, inscribed stones recording laws and dedications, and offerings left by rulers seeking Apollo's guidance. Even more intriguing are the layers of structures beneath the visible ruins, suggesting that sacred activity at Delphi may have begun long before the classical temple we see today. The Pythia, Apollo's priestess, delivered oracles that could sway empires, and the archaeology of Delphi, the temples, the theater, the stadium, shows how this sanctuary grew into more than just a holy site. It became a political stage where leaders sought divine legitimacy. But Apollo wasn't the only twin to leave his mark. His sister Artemis, goddess of the hunt, carved her own story into stone, and new excavations are still revealing her secrets. 5. Artemis, the huntress revealed. Artemis was revered as the protector of wild places and young women, and her sanctuaries reflected that duality. One of the most famous was at Ephesus, home to the colossal Temple of Artemis, so large it was considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. While only fragments remain, the foundations still testify to its grandeur, but recent excavations have turned up new surprises. At Brauron, a site near Athens, archaeologists discovered layers of offerings left by families, small figurines, garments, and inscriptions dedicated to Artemis for the protection of their daughters. These finds reveal a personal side to her worship, one that wasn't just about public ritual, but about private hope. Elsewhere, ongoing digs continue to uncover smaller shrines and temples tied to Artemis, often in remote, wild areas. It's as if her sanctuaries mirrored the wilderness she ruled. And yet, if Artemis's cult spoke to everyday life, the next goddess held sway over something even more fundamental, the very cycle of life and death. 6. Demeter, the keeper of mysteries. If Zeus ruled the skies and Poseidon the seas, Demeter governed something even more vital, the harvest. Without her favor, no crops would grow, no civilization could survive. And at Eleusis, near Athens, her cult became one of the most secretive and powerful in antiquity. This was the home of the Eleusinian mysteries, rituals so sacred that participants were sworn to secrecy, under threat of death, if they revealed what happened inside. Archaeology has given us glimpses of these ceremonies, though never the full picture. The massive Telesterion Hall, where thousands gathered for initiation, still dominates the ruins. Underground passages, ritual pits, and votive offerings suggest elaborate ceremonies tied to the myth of Demeter and her daughter Persephone. Fragments of inscriptions reference the mysteries, but the exact rituals remain hidden. What we do know is that this cult survived for nearly 2,000 years, influencing not only Greek religion, but later Roman practices. And yet, as mysterious as Demeter's rites were, it's the final god on our list whose worship might be the most surprising of all, because evidence shows it existed long before Greek myth was even written down. 7. Dionysos, the god who rewrites history. Dionysos, the god of wine, ecstasy, and rebirth, was long thought to be a late addition to the Greek pantheon, a foreign import from the East. But archaeology has turned that assumption upside down. Linear B tablets, the oldest form of Greek writing, mention his name more than 3,000 years ago, in the Mycenaean era. This discovery means his worship predates the Trojan War, and places him among the earliest Greek deities. Imagine that. Long before Homer ever described Zeus or Apollo, people were already writing the name of Dionysos. His cult sites have appeared in some of the most unexpected places. At Perperikon in modern-day Bulgaria, archaeologists uncovered rock-cut altars and basins believed to be used for Dionysian rituals. In Italy, a recently analyzed bronze lamp has been reinterpreted as a sacred object tied to his worship. And in Pompeii, vibrant frescoes depict scenes of Bacchic mysteries, rituals devoted to Dionysos that blended theater, ecstasy, and transformation. What makes Dionysos so striking is how his worship blurred boundaries. His followers weren't just priests and priestesses, they were entire communities who believed they could touch the divine through dance, wine, and ecstatic ritual. The archaeology shows us that his cult wasn't on the margins. It was central, powerful, and perhaps more ancient than anyone imagined. 7 gods, 7 stories, and countless ruins, artifacts, and inscriptions that connect mythology with history. Zeus's ashes on a mountain peak, Poseidon's statues beneath the sea, Athena's Parthenon towering over Athens, Apollo's oracle echoing from Delphi, Artemis's temples revealing her protection, Demeter's mysteries that kept secrets for centuries, and Dionysos, the god whose name was written down long before myth became legend. Do these discoveries prove the gods were real beings? Not exactly. But they prove something just as powerful, that belief in these gods shaped every stone, every city, and every life in the ancient world. Myths didn't just exist in stories. They were carved into temples, buried in sanctuaries, and etched into the landscape of history itself. So the next time you hear a legend, remember, there might just be a piece of stone, a bronze figurine, or a forgotten ruin waiting to confirm it. Now let me ask you, which of these archaeological finds surprised you the most? And if you could choose one god for scientists to prove next, who would it be?